Surprisingly warm morning air. We've got to go back to year 1642. So does anyone know what began in England in 1642?
Revolution.
English Civil War, so close enough. And that begins right here in Nottingham. So at the time we had a king called Charles I, and he believed kings were placed there by God. So only God could tell a king how to run a country. Now this caused Charles to argue with his parliament, who also wanted to run some things here as well. So to resolve this argument, Charles tried running England without parliament for 11 years. Then he ran out of money, so he had to call them back. Parliament, of course, went, no, we're not going to give you a penny, you've just ignored us for 11 years. So he tries arresting a load of his MPs. But eventually Charles decides the only sensible thing to do was to go to war with his own government. And he did that by coming to a place called Standard Hill. So you go out the castle gatehouse, just that hill there to your left. And he stands there in the shadow of this castle, and he raises his war banner on that spot. Now, when the king's flag's raised, it's meant to mean that every fighting-age man in the area should rally to the banner and form an army for the king. So he's expecting most men between about 15 and 50 to turn up and fight for his cause. And his banner raised here in Nottingham, calling his army for 3 days. How many people do you think show up?
None.
Well, a bit more than none. He's expecting thousands, tens of thousands. He gets 20 people. That's it. So he's a bit embarrassed by this. A bit like if no one came to your birthday party. He takes his flag down in a shop and tries again in Newark with much more success. But in revenge for Nottingham not having given him any soldiers or support, when Charles leaves, he takes away a load of the people working here at the castle, leaving this place virtually abandoned. And the people of Nottingham, they already didn't like the king. So they joined the other side of the war, the parliamentarians, and get a new governor appointed, a man named Colonel John Hutchinson. We know loads about his time in charge, thanks to writings of Lucy Hutchinson, his wife. So she's an amazing woman. She's a poet translator, she's a philosopher. Most useful to us here, she also writes a diary, which is one of the most important sources we have for the English Civil War. And you can still see her diary. The original's on display upstairs in our Rebellion gallery. She's got better handwriting than I do, and she tells us her husband ordered this section of the cave to be knocked off in order to create a lookout post. So, up until about 300 years ago, none of the buildings you can see over here existed. It fields all the way over towards the River Trent. Another thing John does, you can not see this wall behind us here, probably place a cannon where I'm standing now. He also placed 2 more cannons right up the top on a wooden platform just above us. And he's wise to be prepared, because 1 year later, a giant royalist army came across the field towards the castle and surrounded it, cutting it off from the outside world. Now, despite being massively outnumbered and totally surrounded, John Hutchinson refuses to hand this castle over. Instead, what he does is raise a red flag from the tallest tower, and a red flag, that means no surrender, we'll fight to our last. And he fires down on the royalists from this spot here with cannon fire and with muskets. And he held out for 5 whole days of grisly siege, till a parliamentarian army came from Derby to help him out. And despite several other attempts to take it, royalists never get their hands on Nottingham Castle. And it's on the winning side of the Civil War. When the war does come to an end, John Hutchinson is even one of the people that signs the king's death warrant, leaving Charles to have his head chopped right off. Now, despite being on the winning side of the Civil War, John Hutchinson really quickly starts arguing with the other parliamentary leaders, especially their main leader, who was a bloke called Oliver Cromwell. Does anyone know what time of year Cromwell bans in England? It might have made him a little bit unpopular. Christmas, exactly right. He makes Christmas illegal. He's got a vendetta against presidents because he also bans birthdays, and he bans drinking and football, which are 2 of the major English pastimes.